Bokgabo Poo has been laid to rest. The 4-year-old's family pleaded with her alleged killer, Ntokozo Zikhali, to return her body parts that are still missing. The family held off a funeral for weeks, hoping they'd be able to bury their daughter whole. Unable to wait any longer, they went ahead with a funeral service today. My colleague, silindelo Masikane, who's covering this heartbreaking story, is joining us now back in the studio from that funeral service. It was a very emotional service, silindelo. Good afternoon, for the little girl, little Bokgabo, and the family had to, at some point, bid farewell to her, and that day was today.
That day was today, unfortunately. Like you've said, they've been holding off for some time now, hoping that the accused would cooperate with law enforcement, reveal exactly what happened to the rest or the remainder of her missing body parts. We know that, in particular, her eyes are missing, a part of her arm is missing, her leg is missing. So, a lot of unanswered questions going into today's funeral around what happened to those body parts. But the family being supported quite tremendously, I must say, not only by the Wattville community, but by political parties. Despite their political affiliations, we saw a number of them coming out, putting their party regalia aside and just coming together to support this family and to stand up to say that they just simply cannot have these kinds of killings any longer. We saw the Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Zizi Kodwa, also coming out on behalf of government. But of course, we know for Bokgabo's father, we've seen how he's been reacting in court. Bokgabo's mother as well. It was just such a painful day. They played a montage, Brad, if I can take our viewers back to the actual funeral service, and you could just tell how incredibly painful this is for any parent to lose a child at 4 years old. You have hopes, you have dreams for this child.
There's still such a life ahead in terms of years.
You feel almost robbed,
baby,
almost robbed of so many memories, and the little that they had in the 4 years of her life. You could tell in that video montage that this was a child who was loved not only by her parents, but many of her loved ones, family and friends, and so it's a major loss for them, and I think it's going to take a long time to even begin trying to comprehend or put this chapter.
And the court case is going to unearth a lot of wounds that's going to come. And the accused, Ntokozo Zikhali, has been mum about why.
Yeah, and I think you could tell just how emotional it is for the parents, because they couldn't even speak. They had their messages read out in terms of what they wanted to say to their little girl. Let's take a listen.
My daughter, my angel. As your spirit butterflies this world, know that you left a big mark. I know you'll always look down on me, my sweet, sweet angel. I love you. Rest in peace. Mama.
Your wings were ready to fly to heaven, but my heart was not ready. R.I.P. my angel, with love from your daddy Ivan.
I understand Father Temba Seya, who was a spiritual father to the family, was a program director, and he spoke very powerfully against the crimes that are being committed against our children, the violence that's meted out day in and day out against our children.
Yeah, you could even tell it in his voice. It was breaking a few times that this is a death that has really not only shaken the Wattville community, but a reminder that we're just not safe. Our kids are not safe anywhere. Our women are not safe anywhere. And what is it actually going to take to ensure that when you send your child out to play in the park, that they're going to come back alive? And he was saying that not only does the Wattville community and communities at large that face these kinds of crimes, they not only have to stand up, but he was actually calling out his counterparts, his religious leaders, to leave the churches and come out in the streets and speak out against these crimes, but maybe organize marches as well, bring the East Rand community perhaps to a standstill to get the attention of those in power to ensure that something is done about this. Let's take a listen.
I think it's about time for us now to stand up and move out of the churches and march and let this country come to stand still. Because we can't afford this. Our kids are being tortured and they're dying, and we keep on Sibanama talk show. We cannot afford this. Till when must we do this?
You can hear the emotion there in the voice of Father Tembaseya during the funeral service of little Bokgabo. So let's just go back to the court now.
Yes.
When is Ntokozo Zikhali back in the dock?
So we know, of course, that he has 2 cases that he's going to be appearing for next week, Monday. When Bokgabo went missing, he was actually out on bail in another rape matter where he's accused of raping a 9-year-old girl. So both that matter and the one of Bokgabo's is going to resume next week, Monday, because we know that the state, in his first matter involving the 9-year-old little girl, they want to apply to have his bail revoked because of the current case that he's also that he's been arrested for in terms of Bokgabo. So next week, Monday, we will see Ntokozo Zikhali back in the Benoni Magistrates Court, where we are, of course, once more expecting the Watford community to come out in their numbers and possibly some more beefed up security around the actual courthouse itself.
There's something disturbingly wrong with Ntokozo Zikhali. You say he was out on bail on the rape of a 9-year-old girl?
Yes, and that is what I think angered the community so much, is that here is somebody who was already accused of raping a 9-year-old girl, out on bail, and seemingly let out to, unfortunately, kill another child, allegedly, according to the state. So at this point, it does seem as though he's being represented by legal aid. It's unclear whether they'll be applying for bail in the Bokgabo matter at this point. So we will find all of that out next week.
Yeah, thank you very much, Silindelo Masikane, for that update.